Hello, myself Sanjay Jaiswar from Aegis School of Data Science, and I welcome you all on behalf of Aegis for this webinar on how to become a Laravel developer. Now, before beginning with this particular webinar, what is the agenda of this webinar and why we have kept this webinar? Let's look an outline of this particular webinar. First of all, whenever we talk about the development, or more precisely full stack development, we oftenly get confused which technology we have to choose. Now, since this webinar is focusing more on Laravel, we'll be discussing some means more about your PHP development and why PHP is a good option if you choose your career in your web development or backend development or even full stack development. Now, when we talk about development, the technology, there are a lot of technologies which you can choose, and you can go for your full stack development or development. And PHP, Java, .NET, and there are a lot other languages, even Python. There are so many different programming language that you can elect, and then you can go for your development. But there are so many friends and even your seniors with whom, when you discuss what exactly language or which programming language you have to choose, they oftenly recommend you that either go for Java or .NET or Python. There are so many different languages, but there will be less preference on PHP. And there will be always be a remark on PHP that don't opt for PHP because PHP is not that popular language. So there is a misconception, and what we are going to discuss today is that whatever the view or whatever thinking that is made on PHP, that is actually not right. Now, if you see the history of PHP, it is almost now 25-year-old programming language. And every time when you discuss about the PHP, whether to choose the PHP, it seems like a joke because it is already 25 years old language and you're still debating whether to use PHP or not. Means already you're using it for last 25 years. A programming language which was used for, in fact, if you know famous websites like Facebook or even YouTube, initially it was created, or it was designed with the help of your PHP only. So you cannot underestimate the PHP. So having such a long history of 25 years into the market and still competing with other programming language, so PHP is not dead at all, and PHP is also is a good option to start with your career. Now, in this particular session, we are going to discuss more about PHP. In fact, we are talking about the PHP and its all advanced framework. So here we are going to discuss about the Laravel, again, which is related to your PHP, and why it is related to PHP. Let's try to understand with this particular small PPT which I'm going to share with you. So let's begin with that. Now, how to become a Laravel developer? So when you are clear with the concept of the PHP and or more precisely with the concept of your Laravel, what is exactly Laravel and why it is used, where it is used, and why to choose your Laravel, then obviously your interest to choose Laravel for development increase, and then you will definitely go for this particular technology or this particular framework. So what is exactly your Laravel? So what is Laravel? So if we have to define what is Laravel, so Laravel is a PHP's #1 web framework. It was introduced in June 2011, created by Taylor Otwell, and the current version of Laravel today which we use is Laravel 9. Now, as you can see here, there are a lot of web frameworks for PHP, but Laravel has emerged to be number one web framework. Now, what do you mean by number one framework is that there are a lot of frameworks which are existing in the market. The number of users of Laravel, the number of users that have adopted Laravel is huge. And what is that figure? Let's try to understand. And it was created by Taylor Otwell. It was a Canadian programmer. And the current version is Laravel 9. Now, if you see with the stats, if you compare Laravel with other PHP framework, and yes, it is a web framework because PHP is a web language. That is, it is used for web development. So whenever we develop any framework for PHP, obviously they will be used for your web programming itself, web application development. So there are a lot of frameworks in the market, as you can see on your screen. And you can see almost 43 or 44% of the share amongst all the framework is alone of Laravel. Then on second number, you can see it is CodeIgniter, then Symfony, then Zen and other. So that number is almost 50%, almost near to 50%, and it is going to increase. So that is why Laravel is number one. Now, why Laravel is so popular? The reason behind its popularity. Now, Laravel has vast community with more than 46 kilo active users, 18K threads, and 65 GitHub stars. That means what? More than 46,000K active users. If you check the GitHub stats, you will see that there are more than 18K threads. Means in some or the other way, different type of development is still going on. That is in the form of threads. If you check these technical words, what are active users, what are 65K GitHub stars, means on that at that point, how many users are still using Laravel actively on GitHub? So that is a huge amount. That is huge number. So its community is huge. So when there is a vast and huge community of any particular technology, what is the advantage of having that big community is that even if you have any kind of problem or any kind of issue while working with that particular technology, you get immediate solution if you post in the community. And that is the advantage of Laravel. If you have any issue, you can simply post on the community, and maximum it takes 3 days to resolve it. And that is why with so many support, Laravel has gained popularity, and therefore there is huge adoption of Laravel. But this is not the only reason the Laravel has gained popularity, because of the vast number of community members. Why Laravel is preferred and when to use Laravel, that is also important to know. Now, when you talk about the framework, what is exactly a framework? Now, when we talk about the PHP programming, you have multiple approaches to work on your PHP. Either you can use core PHP, that is, your entire development can be done with simple PHP, core PHP, using object-oriented programming and using MVC architecture, or any other architecture you prefer to work on. In that case, you can simply code everything from the scratch. But coding everything from the scratch and creating all the services, it is very tedious task. When you're working on small application, that's okay. But as your company grows, your project grows, the number of code, the number of modules, as it goes on increasingly, it goes on increasing, then managing that code becomes really very difficult on core PHP. It is not that you cannot manage it or you cannot do it or you cannot create an application, but there are a lot of things that you have to take care of. For example, security, authorization, then your data security, and then SQL injection. There are a lot of things which you have to take care of, and that has to be done manually with the help of core PHP coding itself. So when to use Laravel or any framework? When the size of the project is growing and it becomes difficult to manage. Second, a lot of service need to be built from the scratch and need to be updated time to time. It is not only to build any service, but it has to be updated from time to time. Then providing APIs for third party with proper authorization. So when you provide data to some use third party, so at that time proper authorization and all those things has to be done with the help of your token and everything. Then preventing your application from SQL injection. Then protecting unauthorized users to access your data using cross-origin request. So all those things have to be done manually if you don't use framework. So that is why people prefer some frameworks which does all this work for you with ready-made built-in services and built-in components. So Laravel is one of the framework that provides all these features. Now, why to use Laravel and what are the important features that comes with your Laravel? So first of all, Laravel supports your MVC architecture. That is, it supports MVC framework. Second, its approach is completely object oriented. Second, built-in authentication and authorization. That is your login, that is your security, that is login, authentication, and authorization. That is when you are creating your APIs and you're requesting for the data, then authorization. So built-in authentication and authorization mechanism. Then package system. There are a lot of third-party packages or vendors that can be easily used in your Laravel framework. For example, when you are working with API, JWT-based authentication can be done with the help of a vendor that is specially designed, that specially comes for generating your tokens and verifying your tokens. So that is an example of your package system. Then it supports multiple file system. So when you're working with your Laravel, you don't have to worry about which platform your code is going to run, whether it is on your AWS or any other clouds where the operating system may differ. So the file, it supports all multiple different file system. So that is an advantage of Laravel. Then it has artisan console. That means the things are automated. If you want to generate any module or component or controllers or service, easily or any database migrations, it can be done with the help of your console command line, PHP's command line. So it comes with your PHP command line console. That is your artisan. So it has artisan console to automate things. Then it has eloquent ORM. Now, what is ORM? ORM is object relation mapping. Now, what is exactly ORM? Object relation mapping is that when you are working with database, when you have a lot of tables, so there is a mapping, there is an object mapping to that particular database object table, and all the insert, delete, update, or basic database operations can be done with the help of that object using your object-oriented programming. So that is called as your object-related mapping. So you don't have to directly work on your SQL or raw query. Even you don't have to use the raw queries. You can simply make use of your. There are a lot of repositories. Every model will have a collection of repositories where we can work with your database, like your insert, delete, selection. All those kind of methods are defined in that particular model, and some methods are predefined when you are working with the database. So object relation mapping is a out-of-box feature that is provided by the Laravel. Similarly, one more important feature, that is your template engine. What is template engine? Now, whenever we design any website or web applications, in the front end, that is your view, the data has to be bind. So binding data with your HTML tags, okay, that has to be done. And that is done with the help of your template engine. So your Laravel provides your template engineering called Blade. So there, all the PHP code can be easily bind with your front end, and it works on object oriented principle. That is, you can simply inherit your templates for multiple pages with the help of your template inheritance. So that is one advantage that comes with your Laravel, that is template engine. Then we have task scheduling. That is, it has all star scheduler like your cron jobs. So if you want to run any particular code or any scheduler, it can be automated with the help of your task scheduler. So it is just like your cron jobs. So it runs a cron whenever that particular method or that particular procedure has to be function at particular time. So that is also one feature of your Laravel. Then we have our event and broadcasting. Now, what is event and broadcasting? Whenever we want to update our front end data, when there is any change in the backend database or backend, so without doing a polling means what? Whenever if you want to refresh the front end, you have to refresh your front end. You have to give a request that is called as polling to the backend, and then your contents in the front end becomes updated. But here in your Laravel, you have a concept called as event and broadcasting. That is, whenever there is some changes in the backend server broadcast that change in an event to the front end. And in the front end, we have some JavaScript written that catches the event and then automatically updates the front end with that backend data. So that is a feature that is provided with the help of event and broadcasting. And then it has testing. So unit testing is also done in the Laravel. So before actually implementing the code or logic, you can do a dry run, or you can simply test your code with the help of your built-in testing. So that is also provided in your Laravel. So these are some most important features that comes along with your Laravel. And if you compare your Laravel framework with any other technology, for example, even if you want to compare your Laravel framework with your Spring Boot, if you know what is Spring Boot of Java, and you will see that almost all the features which are there in your Laravel, you will find similarly all those features in your Spring Boot. So technology wise, though they both are different technologies, but all the features are there in Laravel also. So if you are into PHP development, obviously you can work on all those features that you get in other technologies like your Java in your Laravel framework. And Laravel is one such framework that provides all these things in one single framework. One more important thing that Laravel is preferred is you can work with REST APIs and microservices. So Laravel has built-in authentication and also supports JWT token-based authentication or authorization, I will say. So that is why it is very secure and best when it works with your REST APIs. Now, as you know today, REST APIs are so important. In fact, REST APIs are mostly used when we talk about your backend development and front-end development, when you are talking about a single page applications or mobile applications. All the data has to be requested with the help of your APIs. And in that case, REST APIs are used. And to access the data in the backend with the help of your API, it has to be very much secure, in a very secure mode. And that is why we make use of your JWT based token mechanism and authentication. So your Laravel has a built-in authentication mechanism. So that is, since Laravel has both these features, working with REST APIs becomes much more secure and easy. There is one micro framework of your Laravel that is called as Lumen. Now, though Lumen is not supported, the support for the Lumen micro framework architecture has been stopped by Laravel, but it is an example where suppose that a user only wants to work with your API, REST APIs. So he can, and he don't want to bother about the front end. That is, he does not want the blade engine. So this framework will not include that blade engine, that is front end part. It will only include your back end, that is your to work with your controllers. So Lumen was developed, but since Laravel is single framework that already allows every kind of everything in a single framework, everything comes with a single framework Laravel. So they really thought that there is no need to maintain a separate micro framework Lumen, and therefore they are not supporting it. In fact, everything is now embedded in your Laravel framework. So that is the advantage of Laravel. And microservice, you know that in a distributed application architecture, you work on microservice. You create microservices. That is, one application communicates with another application with, and that those small applications that are enclosed in your containers, okay, like your Dockers and those. So they can communicate with each other, and these are called as your microservices, again with the help of REST APIs. So Laravel is a good option to create your microservice as well. Now, having to know about all these features of Laravel, now the next important thing that you would like to know is what are the job opportunities for Laravel or PHP Laravel. So if you just search for the jobs for PHP Laravel and full stack development, why full stack development? Because Laravel, you can, with the help of Laravel, you can also work in the backend, and you can also create the front end with the help of your Laravel blade engines, or template engines. So it is a completely full stack. It is used for full stack development. So whenever there is a, when you talk about the job opportunity for Laravel, we always talk for full stack development. Though you can also use React and Angular and Vue.js in the front end and Laravel in the back end. But if you just search for the jobs, you will see that there are more than 50,000 or 52,000 jobs. So this was the recent figure which we searched on the Naukri portal and in any on any other famous job portals. So this number is not small. This is huge number. So when we talk about the job opportunities, so there are jobs for Laravel as well. So if you are already doing PHP, or you're into basic PHP also, and in fact there are so many companies who have been working on PHP, core PHP. They have still their entire project on core PHP. They would like to migrate on Laravel. So the candidate who has the knowledge of Laravel can easily switch to that particular technology, and they have good chances of getting recruited. So upgrade yourself to the Laravel. That is a good option if you're already a PHP developer, or even if you know basic PHP, MySQL, you can easily upgrade with your Laravel. Now, what is a prerequisite for becoming a Laravel developer? So another important question, that how can you start with the Laravel, and what is the requirement for the Laravel? So first of all, there is no huge requirement to become a Laravel developer. First of all, you should know PHP programming language. And when we talk about PHP language, core PHP language with object-oriented programming concept, it should be clear, and that can be done easily within a period of say 1 month or even less. If you are good at learning, or you can catch faster, you can even do in 15 to 20 days also, within a period of 3 weeks. Then after that, you have to know the basic HTML that I think everyone knows who wants to do development, or who is going to opt for your development as a career option. Basic HTML is taught to everyone. But even if you want to start, you can start with basic HTML. But I'm talking only about HTML. I'm not talking about JavaScript or CSS. Basic HTML is enough for you. But obviously, when you're learning HTML, basic CSS and basic JavaScript, you're going to learn. Then all your basic SQL queries. So you should know the SQL queries. In fact, you should practice your MySQL queries. So these are the basic requirements to start your career, or you can start learning your Laravel. And then you are very good enough to start. and you can easily learn Laravel, and within the period of say 2 months or 3 months, you can easily learn your entire Laravel. So that was all about your Laravel, and why Laravel, why you should learn Laravel, what are the features that is provided with the that comes with your Laravel, and what are the requirement, and how you can become a Laravel developer. What are the basic requisites that to become a Laravel developer. So with this, I end my presentation, and now over to you. If you have any queries, you can simply comment, or you can simply ask. Okay, so so here we come to end of our webinar, and even if you have any query, or after you watch this video again later on, if you have any query, you can simply ask us or comment, or you can simply reach to Aegis, Institute of Data Science, our official website. The link would be provided below this video. And if you want to talk with me, you are most welcome. If you have any query related to Laravel, or if you are a very beginner into the development, you can directly talk one-to-one with me. I'm always there to help you out.